Here to set you free. How you doing? Happy Friday. I'm Leslie Marshall. Welcome or welcome back. Only True Democracy and Talk. Sorry I didn't do my before the show little appearance. I was taping something for the folks in Morocco who I did a TEDx talk for a few years ago. So listen, the president keeps boasting about his cognitive ability and the fact that he took this cognitive test that is used to screen people, usually who are seniors, for dementia and Alzheimer's. Chris Wallace, my colleague at Fox News Channel, interviewed him, took the test himself. And I was talking with Marky Mark Grimaldi, who you can see here. Can they see you? Yeah, they can see you too. My executive producer. See how handsome he is? I only hire handsome guys to work with me, right? He's like my little brother. And anyway, Mark, I said to Mark, hey, yeah, I'd be interested in taking that test. And Mark said, yeah, why don't we do it on the air? So we're going to do that. Okay. Full disclosure, we're going to do that. Mark has the test. I haven't seen the test. No cheating here. No excuses, right? And he's going to give it to me now, just so you can get a taste, if you haven't looked at it or heard anybody or taken the test yourself, of what this test is like that the president of the United States took, that, he claims he aced and makes you think was so hard, was so difficult. Is it hard? Is it difficult? I don't know. I'm about to take it now. So be watching, those of you on Twitter and Periscope, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, or listening via radio, podcast, or stream. And here we go.
Okay, so here we go. I've just sent Leslie the first portion of the test, which is 3 boxes. You'll be able to see in a moment. I'll hold up to the screen. And the
No, it's
first
4
box
boxes.
has 2 questions. Yeah. Well, yes, the first one, it has 2 questions. They might be able to see it. But I'm going to let you start this portion, Leslie. I'll show them while you're doing it. Yeah, let me see if I can hold it up to the camera. If you want to follow along at home, it's called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And what you have to do for the first question, which I'm gonna...
Wait, you're going to tell me when I have to do it,
Yeah,
right?
you're ready. You ready?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ready.
Okay.
Go?
Yep, the thing I just sent you.
Okay.
So she's doing the first 2 questions, which is to connect these letters and numbers in sequential order while alternating between...
Done.
Oh, and she drew the cube. Okay, and then...
No, not the cube. I haven't done
go
the cube yet.
Do the cube next. You have to draw
Okay,
a
do
cube.
the cube next.
Yep. Sorry, I don't know why I can't figure out how to hold this in front of a web camera. There we go. So she's got to draw a cube. Okay, and then next you're going to draw a clock that it is indicating 10 past 11 on the clock.
10 past 11.
Correct. And I will grade Leslie at the end. Feeling powerful.
Ten past 11.
Okay. Back it up a little. Back it up a little.
Oh, sorry.
Hold it up
10
to the
past
camera.
11.
Okay, good. So far, so good. And then you have to name the 3 animals that are on the sheet.
Okay, you want me to say
Just
it?
say
Lion,
yep.
Rhinoceros, known as a rhino, and camel.
Correct. Okay, so far.
And I've written it down.
So far, back it up a little right there. There you go, right there. Yep, okay, and I heard you say it. All right, so far, so good. Now, this portion is the memory portion, which became somewhat famous or infamous when Trump read it. It is going to read a list of 5 words, and you must repeat them. And you're going to have 2 chances to do it right now. And then...
Do I do it? Wait, do I do it twice, or I get 2 chances to get it right?
You do it twice. I'll ask you,
okay.
I'll say it to you, you'll do it once, and then you'll do it again. And then at the end, you're going to do it one more time, okay? So the 5 words are face, velvet, church, daisy, red.
Face, velvet, church, daisy, red.
Correct. Okay, and then do it.
Face. Oh, sorry.
No,
do I do it twice?
Do it again. Go ahead.
Face, velvet, church, daisy, red.
Correct. Okay, so far so good. Now, the next is an attention test, and you have to repeat the digits that I'm going to read to you in order. Okay, there's
Okay.
5 digits. Here we go.
Okay.
2, 1, 8, 5, 4.
21854.
Correct. Now you have to repeat these 3 digits in the backwards order.
Okay.
742.
247.
Correct. Okay, this next portion is also in the attention section, which again you can get the Montreal Cognitive Assessment through their website. And what you're going to do for this portion is you're going to tap, if you have a pencil or a pen.
I have a pen.
Yeah, each time I say the letter A, okay?
Okay.
And it's about, I don't know, looks like maybe 20 letters that I'm going to read. So each time I say the letter A, you'll tap the pen. Okay, it's F, B, A, C, M, N, A, J, K, L, B, A, F, A, K, D, E, A, J, A, M, O, F, A, B. Perfect. You could have actually gotten 2 errors and still passed that section, but you got all of them right. Okay, the next section, also made somewhat famous by Chris Wallace, is to subtract by 7, starting at the number 100. And
I'm not good with math, but let's do it.
And you're going to do it 5 times. Okay, so starting at 100, subtract.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna subtract from 100
by 7.
By 7.
5
all
times.
The way to all the
No, just 5 times. Just 5 times.
Oh, okay.
So start with 100 and subtract 7. What is that?
93.
Okay, and then take 7 off again.
86.
Correct, and then take 7 off again.
79.
Correct, and then take 7 off again.
72.
And then last time, take 7 off again.
65.
Correct. You got all 5 right. And that is what I know you were worried about when you heard there was a math portion.
I was kidding. Math is not my strong point. I've said it many times.
All right, language. Now, you are going to repeat these 2 sentences in order if you can, okay? The first one is, I only know that John is the one to help today.
I only know that John is the one to help today.
Correct. And then there's one more here, and it goes, the cat always hid under the couch when dogs were in the room.
The cat always hid under the couch when dogs were in the room.
Very good. I thought that one might be hard. Now, the next one is kind of fun.
That was hard. No, that one's hard.
Name as many words as you can that start with the letter F in one...
Wait. Name as many words as I can that start with the letter F as in Frank.
F as in Frank, and you're going to do it in 1 minute. And whenever you're ready, actually, let's start it right. I need a pen. Sorry, if you see me fall over, that's why. Okay, because I have to tally it. All right, on your mark, you're going to say F words that are clean. And
except that F.
For 1 minute, and go ahead.
Go.
Yep.
Fool, frivolous, a fracture, funny, fun, funky, foot, frame, fight, fall, foliage, floor, fantastic, fuzzy, fork, I'm looking around, fat, fill, frock, I said fall, right? Fodder, film, French, food, face, format, fence, fell, fungus, fish, find, funky.
Oh, you said funky.
Fox, feelings, Friday, fit, freaky, flaky, flake,
Time.
Flakes.
Got it. Okay, wow, you got, holy moly. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 38 you got, and you only needed 11. So that wasn't
Oh,
even close.
I didn't know I needed 11. I could have stopped.
Well, we wanted to see how much you did in a minute. Okay, now it's abstract words. So the example, you're going to tell me what these words have to do with each other, okay? It's
Okay.
like the example is orange and banana. The linkage is that they're a fruit. So what links the words? Why are they alike for train and bicycle?
They're both modes of transportation, things that you
Modes
ride.
of transportation. And the next one, a watch like you wear on your wrist and a ruler.
They both measure.
Correct. Okay, that was that. Now, this is the hard one. Can you remember those 5 words that we did?
Face, velvet, church, daisy red.
Wow, I did not think you would get that. I'm just being honest. That's impressive.
I have a good memory. I just
I feel
wasn't
like
sure if it was as good as I remembered it would be.
Okay, and then last but not least, what is the date today?
Oh, God.
I know that's hard even if you're not in cognitive decline.
No, just because of COVID. Okay, we are in July 2020. Let me just think. I think Monday was the 20th. So 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. July 24th, 2020.
That is right. And what day of the week is it? Did you say already?
Friday.
Friday. Yep.
Friday.
And then where are you?
I'm in my home in Pasadena, California, in
Correct.
LA County.
You got a perfect score, and just in time because the break is about to be over.
And I can run for president or be president.
Congratulations! All you need
Hey, but
now
wait a minute. Where was that thing? Man, woman. What's
so
the 5
it's
thing?
like man, woman, camera, TV, but that was
Yeah. How come I didn't get man, woman, camera,
I
TV?
guess they vary those 5 words. I'm wondering if it's so that people who it's probably not so that if people who have heard it would say it again, because this was not really that popular. It was a test for people in cognitive decline potentially before
So
the
I'm
president.
not losing it yet.
You're not
Like
in
when I tell my
cognitive
mom, do
decline.
you think I have early dementia when I forget things? I'm just forgetting things.
I think
okay,
it's just
I'm okay.
it's just normal, having to have 2 kids and a job and the craziness of the world. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and I think you're gonna take us to
Why?
break now.
Okay, we'll go to break. There is a fly. Now they're going to think I'm crazy in another way.
If you worry your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could write them a text or knit them a sweater. If you can't be together, you could write them a letter. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. However you do it, you gotta ask a friend. And if they don't share, you can ask again. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity,
Let
we
me
fixed
see.
this up.
Yes,
and
I can.
finished our
Hi, David. Oh,
experiments.
look at David's
The dive
professional.
was
He's got his
just
suit
too
on.
important. Every dive
Or
gives us
super.
glimpses at things
in the
few
worst
people ever get
rating
to see.
of a room you
Glowing
could ever
creatures,
imagine. I'm in a
fiery
little
undersea
office
volcanoes.
downtown here, so
When we
I
got
have
back to
nothing
the
on my
surface,
walls.
I kissed
Oh,
the
I
ground
see.
and
No,
called my
no,
mom, of
no
course.
worries. You got the
But you know
flag.
what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Well, thanks for having me, Leslie.
Dr.
I really
Figueroa
appreciate
uses
it.
her passion for
Oh, I'm
STEM
glad
to
to have
discover
you
new
here.
things
Thank you
and
for
make
taking
the
the
world a
time.
better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration.
Okay, sounds good.
A message.
If you miss Leslie on TV this week, catch up at lesliemarshallshow.com.
Friday, TGIF. I'm Leslie Marshall. How you doing? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome or welcome back. Only True Democracy and Talk. Really pleased to have with us a great guest today, David Pepper. He is chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party. He was elected in 2014 and then re-elected to a second term in 2018. David's also the author of a three-part series of widely praised novels, The People's House, The Wingman, and his newly released book, The Voter File. More than a pleasure to have David Pepper with us, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party. Hi, David. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us and welcome. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you.
And it's great to have you with us as well. Ohio is a state that many of us on the left and right definitely have eyes on when you have a general election, as we have coming up this November in this year of 2020. A lot of people looked at, since 2016, your state of Ohio as pretty red and a state that kind of looked like a lost cause for Democrats, right? I mean, he had a victory there in 2016. The party Democrats carried the state with Barack Obama twice prior to that. So it was a slam to Hillary, slam to the Democrats, and definitely a win for Republicans, the Republican Party, for Donald Trump. As chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, is your state looking like a lost cause, or is it more of a tantalizing opportunity for Democratic nominee, former Vice President Joe Biden?
And so thank you for the question. We've been battling this narrative since 16 that we are somehow more red than ever, can't be won, shouldn't compete here. And the data does not back up that myth. If you look closely, yes, Trump won by too much for a variety of reasons. He won the Midwest by too much for a variety of reasons. A lot of in the Midwest states, the Clinton campaign didn't really compete in most of these states. So there were runaway losses in rural parts of the state that Obama would have lost, let's say, 60-40. Hillary Clinton lost some 75-25. That moved every state about 6 or 7 points to the right of where they'd been only a few years ago. So we lose Wisconsin and Michigan. Ohio, which was a close win, moves way to the right. We're an 8-point loss. But since 16, if you look at 17 local races, 18 Sherrod Brown, 2 Supreme Court seats that we win. We flip 6 state house seats that have been gerrymandered for Republicans, that we flip in 18 that we before had never competed in because they were so gerrymandered. And then even in 19, there's a very clear pattern happening. The former base of the Republican Party of Ohio were these large suburbs. That's where they'd win big. They're now blue. That's the largest voting bloc in Ohio. If the largest voting bloc went from red to blue, it fundamentally changes how you win Ohio. That's why Sherrod Brown, in 18, he won by more than he did in 12 when Obama won. We won state house seats that we didn't win in 12 when Obama won in 18. We won 2 Ohio Supreme Court seats for the first time in decades. We elected our first African-American woman Democrat statewide ever in one of those Supreme Court races. And the way I characterize it, we're more of a rigged state than a red state. About 50% of Ohioans in 2018 voted for a Republican for the state house. About 49% voted for Democrat. Yeah. You don't know it because the gerrymandering makes it like 63-36, very similar with Congress. So the point is, this big shift in our suburbs, powered largely by women, and then an anemic economy. We had our worst economic year in Ohio in 19 before the COVID crisis hit. We lost manufacturing, we lost construction, farm bankruptcies. So the suburbs are flipping for deeper reasons around sort of just where we are as a country. But even the more rural blue-collar areas that Trump did very well in, his economic promises have gone for nothing. These places are struggling as bad or worse as they were when he promised them the world. So he can't rely on huge margins there if we do our job and campaign there. He can't rely on the suburbs, which are going the other way. The cities are fired up. So all that together means it doesn't guarantee anything. It's Ohio. It's close. But it means a good campaign like Sherrod Brown's can win Ohio. And that's why when we see polls now consistently with Biden tied or ahead, the nation's sort of shocked by it. Our answer is that's what the data would suggest from this major tectonic shift you're seeing around the state. That's, again, driven by a lot of women basically abandoning their old party, independents becoming Democrats, and more rural parts. Just as a quick example, We had a number of cities in 2019, small rural towns, that Trump won 60-40. Democratic mayors ousted the Republican mayors 60-40 or better in a bunch of them. Why? Because those towns aren't doing very well and people want to change. So you add it all up, a good campaign can certainly win Ohio in 2020.
You had talked about polls, two prominent polls out of your state last month showed what you said, a statistical tie in the presidential race between Trump and Biden. But I want to talk about some other polls, and those are exit polls.
Right.
Turnout in the Ohio primary elections in April, it was higher for Democrats than for Republicans for the first time in dozens of years. Why do you think that is? And do you think that's evidence of enthusiasm in the Democratic base? Because a lot of people talk about lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden.
Actually, it was both. Interestingly, yeah. So in Ohio, you don't declare a party. You declare your party by voting in the primary. And so for the first time since 2008, we have more Democrats in Ohio than Republicans. And it was significantly more. And it happened for two reasons. One was general energy, but also going back to what I said before, you can track who voted in what primary in recent years. Thousands more former Republicans voted in the Democratic primary than the other way around. And even a greater degree of people who previously basically didn't vote a primary for a party. They took an independent ballot, or they hadn't voted much in primaries. They also were taking Democratic ballots far more than Republicans. So it's both energized Democrats, but it's also party switching. We have, a couple counties, for example, Delaware County, the suburbs of northern Columbus, used to be a very Republican county. Second biggest margin of victory for Republicans. In the primary a few months ago, 45% of the voters in that primary were Republicans, 43% were Democrats. This is a county we used to lose 70-30. Sherrod lost it by 4%. If you're taking away the counties they have to win by a lot, you're a lot closer to winning. So yeah, we saw energy and we saw dramatic party switching in a lot of parts of the state.
Are we coming up against a break? Yeah, we're coming up against a break. So I don't want to ask you a question you can't answer to the other side. We'll just wait till the other side of that break. But quick break, and we'll be back with our guest. I hope you'll stick with us. David Pepper, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, also author of a 3-part series of widely praised novels, The People's House, The Wingman, and his newly released book, The Voter File. Be sure to get a copy of that, and certainly the first two, since it's a trilogy. On Twitter, follow David there at David Pepper, DavidPepper. And the websites you want to check out. The Ohio Democratic Party is ohiodems.org. The website for David's books, davidpepper.com. I'm Leslie Marshall. We'll be back with David. We'll be back with you right after this. Don't go away.
Follow Leslie on Twitter. Just go to www.twitter.com/Leslie Marshall, and we'll be sure to share your tweets.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Donald is in a funk. He's been outsmarted by an inert virus, his poll numbers are tanking, and even his demagogic pep rallies are falling flat. So, who to turn to for political comfort? Why, of course, Trump's true loyalists, his diehard cadre of Washington's corporate lobbyists. I don't merely mean those elites of K Street and Wall Street who dominate his cabinet. He also has a kitchen cabinet. Operating out of public view, it's an unofficial collection of highly paid influence peddlers who are still practicing the dark art of bending government power to the wishes of selfish corporate interests. Each of them is paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by brand-name clients, from Amazon to Walgreens, to get favors from Trump. In turn, these little-known lobbyists have now adopted the Donald as their chief client, funneling millions of special interest dollars into his re-election campaign, with the understanding that he'll keep channeling tax breaks, regulatory exemptions, and public dollars to the corporate donors. It's the Washington money go-round, merrily corrupting our government. Who are these no-name corruptors? David Urban is one, considered the best-connected corporate huckster in the Trump swamp. An old college pal of a couple of cabinet officials, he's become such a close buddy of Donald himself that he's known as a Trump whisperer, able to work around the furies that rage in that strange orange head. Such cozy ties to the top mean Urban gets his calls returned, an invaluable asset for his favor-seeking clientele, including Raytheon, Goldman Sachs, Bayer, Nike, and Toyota. They, in turn, have made Urban rich, paying the once obscure lobbyists more than $25 million since the Trumpeteers took office. This is Jim Hightower saying, so Washington lobbyists are now the top backers of Trump 2020, hoping to get another 4-year ride on the corrupt money go-round.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of truth. The Leslie Marshall Show.
And we're back. We're back with our guest, David Pepper, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party and author of a 3-part series, The People's House, The Wingman, and the most newly released book that he has out, The Voter File. David, thank you for holding. Welcome back. A lot of things to talk about today, but I just want to touch upon one more thing in the state of Ohio with regard to the presidential election coming up in November, and that's the amount of money that the Trump campaign is spending. They recently booked $18.4 million in fall TV ads in your state. Yeah. That's more than any other state besides Florida. Do you think that's a sign that Donald Trump is on the defensive? Because this is a state that I think Republicans had considered, especially in light of 2016, locked down for them in the GOP.
I mean, it's clearly that. One of his top sort of co-campaign managers is an Ohio Republican. I think they know what I've been saying is true for some time. They've kind of hidden it well, and Democrats haven't been as fast to figure it out. But Donald Trump visited Ohio more than any other state in 19, except for states where he owns golf courses and was golfing. And now we see the money flowing. I think they know they're in trouble here. And all those visits didn't really matter. Mike Pence, we've had DeVos here twice in a week virtually. They're coming in here again and again, trying to pretend that the Ohio economy is strong when it's actually, as I said in the prior segment, it's very weak here. People know it. He broke promises here. Plants are closing. And so, yeah, that booking that $18 million tells us that they know they're in trouble. And we also know it's like Florida. He loses Ohio, it's over. I mean, that's the end of the election. He knows it. We know it. And one of the things I like about this, though, is, in politics, you're either on offense or defense. The best thing to win Wisconsin and Michigan is if Trump's in Ohio fighting for his life here. That means he's not in Milwaukee. That means he's not in Michigan. So the fact that we've got him on the ropes here, we think we can beat him here, but that's the best way to make sure he's not spending that $18 million in Wisconsin.
It's interesting that you said if he loses Ohio, he's lost, because if you remember, Karl Rove on Fox News Channel was with Megyn Kelly and Bret Baier. And when Mitt Romney lost Ohio to Barack Obama and Megyn Kelly called it for, Barack Obama, Karl Rove was arguing it, right? And he goes, well, we got to have Ohio. And she goes, Ohio's done. It went to Obama. And
I rewatched that clip.
Yeah, he's my colleague at Fox, but he definitely looked blindsided, is an understatement. One last thing about the presidential election in your state. You had kind of off the cuff mentioned just before the break about rural voters in your state, and you said something like, if we campaign, if they campaign to them or get out to them, paraphrasing your words, especially with COVID-19. What would you, if you were on the phone with Joe Biden or, with his campaign chair right now, what would you tell them they need to do to reach out to those rural voters, to people that banked on Trump for the economy? The economy's not happening, and also are not happy with his handling of COVID-19.
I think do what you did in 08 and 12. Obama and Biden traveled and pushed, not just in our big cities, which is, of course, our base. We have to win there.
Right.
But they made a point, and they showed the respect to campaign in smaller towns in rural Ohio. And here's the bottom line. Those towns need the Democratic sort of platform as much as anyone. Medicaid expansion, infrastructure, someone who cares about dealing with the COVID in a pro-science, listening to science way. These towns are struggling as much as anyone, in some cases worse. The Republican agenda only pulls away from them. So it's showing up, laying out your agenda, and actually being confident to know your agenda is exactly what these towns need. We had a 28-year-old win 72-28 in the town of Ironton, Ohio, last November. He beat Trump won Ironton more than 60-40. Our 28-year-old said, "You know why I won?" Because I asked him, of course. He said, "Our town's not doing very well. And I was the only change on the ballot that year. And so I go on to win." And I think we need to be the ones confident enough to say, we know you had promises broken. We know no one's paid attention. And what do you guys need? You need infrastructure, job opportunity, options for young people, and you need health care. That's what we're for. And the other side is doing none of that. And so I do think, and by the way, these are parts of the state that are on the latter end of the COVID surge. But these parts are now the ones who are going to start to see the pickup. We're already seeing this. So you also want someone who's going to take that seriously. So you add it all up. I'm not saying you're going to win these places necessarily, but if you lose them 60-40 or so, like Sherrod Brown did when he had a 7-point win in 18, or like Obama did, and then you have the suburbs moving our way in energized cities, that's how you just won Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. So we can do it, and it means showing up and laying out that clear Democratic platform.
Lots of stuff to talk about. Speaking of Ohio Republicans, Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder and 4 others were arrested on charges stemming from a $60 million bribery case brought by U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Ohio, David DeVilliers. Why does this matter? People are saying this is the largest bribery money laundering scheme ever perpetrated against the people of the state of Ohio. And it would seem that some people outside of Ohio don't know about this. This matters. This is a big deal. Please.
It is a big deal. I mean, and by the way, this is an every 2 or 3 year thing at this point for Ohio Republicans. A couple years ago, it was a massive pay-to-play scandal with a for-profit online scam charter school that pulled hundreds of millions out of public schools. The last speaker resigned because of a pay-to-play scandal with payday lenders. Now it's this one. It matters because hopefully people think a politician should be accountable when they're corrupt. But the second thing, it goes right back to what I just said earlier. It matters because people being elected, and Larry Householder is one of our many state reps from rural areas, from small towns, in his own district and others that are not doing well. And rather than focusing his time on the public interest of getting them infrastructure or good schools, these guys are lining their pockets to do favors for special interests and private interests. So I think anytime you see this level of corruption, you will also see public decline in the entity where that corruption's happening. And that's the story of Ohio. So in the very districts of these corrupt politicians will be small towns that aren't seeing any hope. They're not seeing any investment because their own representatives are doing all these side deals. The best example is this for-profit charter school scam. It's a terrible school. It was failing thousands of kids. So the money leaves good Ohio public schools and goes into corrupt charter schools for profit because the owner of those schools is the biggest donor of the Republican Party. So you're seeing a squandering of public resources, which leads to a state decline, all because of our corrupt culture. So it's not only corruption is bad for its own sake, it's directly connected to the decline all across the state of communities, schools, And in about every way you can measure Ohio, we've been declining for a decade. It coincides precisely with this period of corruption in our state.
No wonder Betsy DeVos is there.
Exactly.
I mean, when you talk about, who's where the money's going, what kind of schools the money's going to. This blew my mind. I found this very interesting that when we knew we were going to have you on and we were touching upon this, that there was an 80-page criminal complaint that was unsealed. It was a dark money enterprise. Millions of dollars were received from March 2017 to March 2020. Like you said, this wasn't an overnight thing, 3 years in the making, in exchange for householders and the enterprise's help in passing that House Bill 6. I mean, this is kind of stuff that you see on like The Sopranos. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, hey, it's some money, pass the bill.
Right.
$1 billion bailout that saved 2 failed Ohio nuclear plants from closing. That money used to line householders' pockets, help him secure support for his Ohio House Speaker bid, for additional men arrested. Household advisor Jeffrey Longstreth lobbies Neil Clark, former Ohio Republican Party chair Matthew Borges, co-founder of the Oxley Group, Juan Cespedes. A householder and his associates made incriminating statements about their illegal activities in meetings with undercover agents. And now they say there are more arrests expected. Were you amazed at how many people were involved here? How many people knew? And are you surprised there'll be more arrests?
Yeah,
because the first thing I thought when I saw this list of people was there's got to be more people know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where the tentacles go. I mean, this was obviously a bombshell. The thing that people are outside of Ohio, even within Ohio, will not know is how powerful Larry Householder was. And to the extent he has given so much money to the Republican Party, he's basically the funder of all the candidates on his team. And so if he said to do something, these people clearly did it. But it also means that a lot of these House candidates who are running right now, a lot of their money is tainted. It's money that came from this criminal enterprise. In some cases, this enterprise was the one running the TV ads in their district, funding the campaign managers. So one thing we're doing right now as a party and our Democrats as the legislatures, follow the money, because we don't believe any of this money should be spent for 1 second. It should all be frozen in place. And that money now is just it's just sloshing around in all sorts of Republican accounts. None of it should be spent on the campaign. And so our attitude is Householder should resign. He should be expelled if he doesn't resign. They should repeal the bill. But beyond that, it should go deeper. If you want to end this once and for all, because it happens every 2 years, we have to change the culture completely and vote in all the Democrats running to clean it up. Because
good point.
Every 2-year thing.
Good point. We can take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this. I also want to talk about your book, the third in a trilogy, and good to have our guest with us. I hope you'll stick with us. Quick break, and we'll be back right after this with David Pepper, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, author of his newly released book, The Voter File. We're going to talk about that. Third in his trilogy, The People's House, The Wingman, #1 and #2. We'll be back with him, the author and chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, after this.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council. America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
He was the heart of your family, and he taught you our history. He helped you fix your first flat. He was the best backyard DJ around, and every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect, in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage.
The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at storycorpsconnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share.
Welcome to Code WAC, your podcast on America's broken healthcare system and how Medicare for All could help. I'm your host, Brenda Gazzar. Today, we'll talk about the struggles that nurses are facing amid the coronavirus pandemic. Rose Roach is the executive director of the Minnesota Nurses Association, an affiliate of National Nurses United. Welcome to Code WAC, Rose. In our last pod, you mentioned that the Centers for Disease Control rolled back standards on using personal protective equipment. What are the effects of this, and what can be done about it?
So the first thing we need to do is get the CDC to put all of the PPE standards back to the pre-pandemic standards that they were, which were using things like N95 masks and gowns, a single use. Nurses are literally being told to put them after a 12-hour shift, wearing them consistently, one mask for that entire shift, into a paper bag, put it into a room, and then come back for their next shift and use it again, or maybe it's a shift or two down the line, but to keep reusing it. The mask becomes ineffective. And so that is exposing our frontline workers to this disease and this virus, and it is absolutely abhorrent and immoral for our country to be doing that.
So before the coronavirus pandemic, they wouldn't have allowed people to reuse N95 masks?
That's exactly right. Nurses were subject to discipline up to and including termination if they were to misuse any kind of PPE, and that means a single use with a single patient, especially when you have a situation where the disease is aerosolized and you're moving between patients. This makes absolutely no sense.
Find more Code WAC episodes on progressivevoices.com and on the PV app.
The boys could play.
If you missed Leslie on TV this week, catch up at lesliemarshallshow.com.
We are back. Welcome back. Marshall David Pepper's our guest, chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, and he is also author of the 3-part series of the widely praised novels, The People's House, The Wingman, and his most newly released book, the third in this trilogy, The Voter File. David, thank you for holding. Welcome back. So many things to talk about and touch upon. Before we move to 2 other topics I want to get to before the end of the interview in the show today and the end of the week, we were talking about the corruption in Ohio, and we were talking about, for people who've just tuned in, Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder and 4 others arrested on charges stemming from a $60 million bribery case brought by U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Ohio, David DeVillers. You had talked about resignation, and you had talked about scrapping the bill and starting again. Your Republican in Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine, did call on Householder to resign. He said it would be impossible for him to serve effectively as leader of the Ohio legislature. And DeWine now says that the nuclear energy bailout should be repealed and replaced. And he changed his mind, it seems, right, just yesterday or the day before, yesterday, I think, right after Wednesday, when he talked about House Bill 6 and asked legislators to repeal the bill and start over. And you had mentioned it goes further that you need to put Democrats in. Do you think that Householder will, in fact, resign? And do you agree with the governor? Well, actually, I want to ask you something. A lot of people I know here in California, and not just in California, in the United States as an American, I would be shocked. I would be appalled if I found out that this kind of corruption could reach some of the highest levels of government. And within the state of Ohio, I'm wondering if you're hearing from Ohio voters, especially those in the Democratic Party, as you would chair, that they are shocked and appalled by this. And are they and you in agreement with the Ohio governor, who is a Republican, asking householder to resign, or do you think
I
he
think
will?
it's
Sorry,
very,
big question.
it's very broadly felt. He hasn't done it yet. I mean, I think if he doesn't, there will be a move, I would think, to expel him. It would put it needs 2/3. And if Republican House members, even the ones who are only there because of him, said no, I think it would be a real problem. Just so it's clear, there's already stories that this investigation is beyond this energy bill. I mean, because if you're corrupt on one thing, you're corrupt on everything. And so we're talking about nursing homes and other industries. So that puts you in a position as a legislator. You don't know what bill's corrupt anymore. You don't know which piece of legislation is resulting from yet another pay-to-play scam. So I just think it does make it impossible to function. And I think it'll become inevitable, and the sooner the better. But by the way, any Republican who would vote no on expelling him, I think would pay the price. By the way, one other thing that this does is Ohioans will be shocked, but they'll also say, didn't this just happen?
Right.
The last speaker resigned 2 years ago.
Well, that's why I was asking. That's why I was asking, knowing that and you sharing. I knew that, and those who didn't, you shared that. Are they desensitized? Is this an expectation?
Because some scandals are more understandable than others. This one is so big, I think it's breaking through. The pay-to-play with for-profit charter schools, to me, is still maybe the most horrific because it undermined the education of millions of kids. But it was a complicated one more than others. And so it didn't break through as much. But the point is, one question is, well, how are these guys so corrupt and they keep getting elected? And this is how it's relevant to 20. The answer is gerrymandering. It's so bad that it doesn't just create a culture without accountability. The people get reelected even when they're corrupt. And so my hope is in 2020 in Ohio, we have a chance to flip the Ohio Supreme Court. This is a districting year, obviously.
Yep.
Every state house seat we pick up helps us in gerrymandering. So we have a clearer message. It's not, don't just vote for your person to replace the other person. If we do this enough and we flip to a Democratic court, just like Pennsylvania, we can get rid of this gerrymandered system, this rigged system once and for all. And that's how we really clean up the place. So there is the timing of this for what we've been saying about end their supermajority, end the rigging of Ohio districts couldn't be better. So we have a chance this November to change the overall structure of the state, to put this all behind us and start moving forward again.
I want to talk about something you're advocating the expansion of, and that's vote drop boxes. And you're advocating this during our current times of this COVID-19 pandemic. To me, this seems like a common sense solution to voting. Tell folks what vote drop boxes are and why you advocate expanding them.
As I tweeted today, some things are hard and some things are easy. Vote drop boxes are very easy. It's basically, right now they're attacking the mail system, and you vote by mail. And by the way, voting by mail is fine, but wouldn't you rather stick it in a box that the Board of Elections picks up every single day? You don't need to put a stamp on it. A lot of them are drive-through. So the bottom line is a lot of states, Washington and Oregon, have done this for years. So have Republican states. So this isn't even partisan. If Brian Kemp's Georgia can have multiple drop boxes throughout Georgia, including Atlanta, and Wisconsin can, there's no reason every state shouldn't. So our point in Ohio is, right now we have one drop box per county. Driving 30 minutes to and from that drop box makes no sense. So we are pushing very hard, and Ohio law allows for this, to provide, just like these other states, drop boxes, at libraries, at city halls. Right. That way, with a 30-day voting window by mail, it's very easy for people to vote this way. And in the states that have drop boxes, 60% or more of people vote at them. Here's the problem. If you have one drop box per county, that last weekend, the traffic jam to vote is going to be miles long. So let's get rid of those lines. Yeah. And the other thing it allows is, we want, because of a pandemic, the more people can get their vote out of the way early versus election day is a safer election.
Right.
Having these drop boxes everywhere it helps make it safe. Bottom line is, there's no reason not to do it unless you want to make voting harder. It's legal, it's practical, voters prefer it. So you saw my little video today, which is taken off a little bit. Just go do it. This is just not that hard. If nurses and doctors can deal with what they're dealing with every day, elections officials can put drop boxes throughout our communities.
What I liked was the data. I mean, we can't argue with facts. And the other states that you talked about, both Republican and Democrat, most voters are using these boxes more than they're using the mail system. So it's more convenient. And it's safe, it's easy, fewer delays, no stamps, and really can't be attacked by the president and those on the right as not being safe, since Republican states like Georgia have them, and because the voters are using them more than the mail.
Exactly. I hope people keep pushing it. If you don't have it in your state, point to these other states that do it. If Brian Kemp can do it, we all can do it.
What is the argument or pushback for these, if any?
Every argument doesn't work because it's done in so many. Well, it's hard to do. Are they secure? I'm like, if Wisconsin and Georgia are doing it securely, learn how they're doing it. Do the same thing. There's no good argument against it. There just isn't.
And by the way, no other time like now to do it. Right.
Right. If you haven't done it before, this is clearly one of the easiest solutions to making voting better in a pandemic.
Let's move on to something I've been looking forward to speaking to you about, and that is your new book out called The Voter File. It's third in a 3-book series, a trilogy on fictional investigative reporter Jack Sharp. Here is what President Bill Clinton, are you friends with the former president? I have a picture of myself with Bill Clinton right over there. A lovely man, quite frankly, and one of my favorite, if not my favorite presidents. Here is what President Bill Clinton has to say about The Voter File. Quote, Pepper comes through again with this clever tale of how cyber sabotage of elections, coupled with highly concentrated ownership of traditional media operations, sounds like real life, can undermine American democracy. I'm going to tell you again, but I want you to know The Voter File is available in hardcover, audiobook, or Kindle edition. You can get all 3 of those types at Amazon.com. First of all, why did you start this series, this trilogy? Why did you decide to start it? B, why fictional? And C, why a trilogy?
That's a great question. So I wrote these books because, I wanted to tell a good story, and a good book isn't going to work unless it's a good story. But if you read my books, you will hear a lot of what I described in the interview of frustration with gerrymandering, the importance of voting all the way through your ballot, dark money. These books are the fictional side of those issues. And my goal has been that people who are maybe not as political, who wouldn't pick up Jane Mayer's Dark Money book, for example, but they're reading a fiction book that kind of tells an account of what is happening real life in politics. For example, I just tweeted in response to your tweet to me about me today, a short passage from my most recent book about corruption in Ohio. And it describes almost exactly what just happened before it happened. My first book, believe it or not, was about a Russian oligarch rigging an American election through voting machines. I wrote it before 16 happened. And so what I try to do in these books is capture the real world of politics through the eyes of an investigative reporter, but I try and do it based on what's really happening. And I try and sort of brainstorm about what are some of the scenarios of not so good things that could happen in this very sort of tough political world we live in. This recent book is actually about the effort to, in a year like 2020, mess with state legislative races to control the gerrymandering process. So you'll see it's very relevant to 2020. Now, they do it by getting into the voter files of the two parties. It's sort of the worst case scenario if someone didn't hack emails or polling, but actually hacked voter files. But you'll see that folks who are political generally enjoy these books. But part of my point is to educate people who are a little less political about what gerrymandering and dark money, what they actually allow to happen to our political system. So it's both fiction, but also a little bit of nonfiction, all wrapped in one book. And that's why Bill Clinton, I've always known him a little bit through politics. He called me out of the blue 2 years ago and said, I picked up The People's House. I read it in one sitting. Like, I love your books. And so he's been just a fan of these because they're sort of half fiction and half real life.
He actually is a voracious reader. He really is. He loves history, but he also loves a good political thriller, as do I. And one of the things I like about this particular book of the 3 is that that you have a rogue reporter as the hero, if you will, in this political thriller. Because I love politics, I love thrillers, I have a journalistic background, I work in the media, so I really identify with it. I think it has something for everyone, people that like the thrill, people that like politics, people that like the news, people that love or hate the media and reporters. It's a great book. And by the way, the voter file available in hardcover, audiobook, or Kindle edition at Amazon.com. On Twitter, follow David at David Pepper. The websites are Ohio Democratic Party, ohiodems.org. And to get David's books, go to davidpepper.com. David, thank you. I'm Leslie Marshall.
Thanks, Leslie. Take care.